It's good to have way more than a one game sample back under our belt. This is awesome. We've got 3 or 4 games, depending on how frisky you were as a Major League Baseball team on Friday under our belt. And we're going to react to each series. We're not necessarily going to go team by team. It may turn into team by team just because, like, hey, maybe we saw something, but I've got an overarching takeaway from the series. Peter Apple has an overarching takeaway from the series. And today is April 1st, a month that Peter welcomes greatly. I saw on Twitter. This is the Just Baseball show. No April Fool's shit today. I'm not a big fan of April Fools. I did forget who we're sponsored by. Who are we brought to you by?
We are brought to you by BetMGM, the king of sports books. BetMGM has been taking my money lately, but good thing is they have a code. And if you use code JustBaseball, you'll get a free bet offer up to $1,500. So if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet and you're losing plays just like I am, might be a good idea to tap into some of that free money, right? Yes. I told you we were going to need it, and we certainly need it. So go get that in the episode description. Remember, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older, and terms and conditions apply. Use BetMGM, use our code, and I'm going to try and win you some bets. And if I don't, well, at least you got free money out of it.
Yeah, correct. CJ Abrams stole 3 bags, though. That had to be a little comforting moment.
Marlins are 0-4. Michael Harris can't get out. The futures are unbelievable, but the game picks are like you walk into like a 7th grade locker room and all you can smell is Axe body spray and ass. That's what my plays represent right now, but it's early. Right? So March doesn't even count. The teams, the players, they're just,
they're waiting for April, right? Those March splits, when you pull up like the splits page, it's like, who cares about March?
Who gives a shit about March anyway? But no, it's
Baseball
been bad.
Reference.
And I'm learning. Well, it is what it is.
I know Baseball Reference will combine March and April, though, so these guys got to get on their high horse. But if it is a March, then April thing, throw March to the wayside. It's April 1. Let's get after it. We do have one series under our belt for each team, and we're going to talk to you about it. But I've got my good friend Cooper Boardman, who does great stuff with the Worcester Red Sox, the Woo Sox for short, that is here calling the NIT. And he texted me as we were trying to link up on Saturday. Juan Soto is a New York Yankee. 30 seconds later, I got another text from a friend in Indy, unprompted. Juan Soto is a New York Yankee. And what am I hearing from you all the time? Guys, Juan Soto is a Yankee. I can't believe it. So why don't we just start with that one? Peter, Juan Soto is a Yankee. Your thoughts?
Well, for all the people watching on YouTube, you just saw me lean back a little bit and smile. I would give this man a kidney if he needed one. I would. If he needed a heart, I'd give him mine. I would do anything for this man, and it's been 4 games. Now, and you're listening to me, you might be a Yankee fan, you're probably not, and you're probably like, Peter, shut the hell up. Shut the hell up, man. Can you let me feel something? The Yankees have not looked this good in over a decade. They haven't, right? They've started off well in some seasons, but the energy, come from behind wins, never say die, defense, offense, the bullpen. How about Rodon battling? How about Stroman battling? Clay Holmes, it's a little bit shaky, gets the job done. I have so many more takeaways. Only Yankee fans understand. This feels different. Now you could say, well, Yankee fans
We're 4 games in.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck, Jack. What I am looking at is different. And I'm fully in. I'm ready to get hurt. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. I haven't been this excited about Yankees baseball since I was like 9 years old. It's unbelievable. We won the World Series already, I think. No, shut up. Shut up.
I'm going to get my negative dig out of the way. Oswaldo Cabrera, and I love Oswaldo Cabrera, but Oswaldo Cabrera has 2 unicorns of the 5 Yankee homers.
How the hell do you know he's not going to continue this? Why not?
No, he might. He might just be warming up a little bit. And it's like, I know, the Derby, hey, your shortest homers come first. And then you start to get loose, weather starts to get warm, and the ball starts to fly a little bit. And you play in a very homer-friendly ballpark in New York. But
hey, just a reminder, we were in Minute Maid. We were in Houston. So if you're blaming the short fences, that's on Houston. That ain't on us. Jordan gets all of them, and he's never hit 38 home runs in his entire life. Oswaldo Cabrera has more home runs than Jordan Alvarez. End of discussion.
what was the Aaron Boone quote during the postseason? Yeah, the roof being open really killed us.
You know what? I agree with him now. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm so in. I'm ready for all
So
the propaganda.
now, all for the positive stuff on the New York Yankees. The Yankees, through 4 games, have 5 homers. Yes, they've only punched out 21 times. So the Ks are a little bit lower than you would expect. They're rocking a 408 team OBP right now. What do the Yankees not do? The Yankees don't get on base. And like here they are getting on base because they got the best on base guy of our generation, and he is stirring the drink right now. Everybody seems more into it than the Yankees that we've seen in 21 and 22 when it was Judge and everybody else, and 23. Like there were bouts of lethargy, and we may see bouts of lethargy in June, July, but we're not seeing it right now. The other thing that I want to point out about this series is the difference in bullpen success. The Yankee bullpen through their first 4 games, 15 and a third scoreless innings.
Can you say that
The
again?
Houston Astros. All right.
Wait,
The
can you
Yankee
say the
bullpen.
Yankee?
Yeah, I
Yes.
got you. The Yankee bullpen through their first 4 games, 15 and a third scoreless innings. The Houston Astros bullpen, who we called like the best bullpen ever created, Frankenstein in a lab, whatever. And I know there are 162 of these, but through 4, 15 and 2/3, 14 runs, 12 earned runs against the Astros bullpen. The Yankees have been the comeback kids through the front weekend, and their bullpen has been freaking nails. And I got to give them credit for it.
Courtesy of Addison, Yankees_world on Twitter. And he's been huge for our social team as well. The Astros bullpen big 3 this series: Abreu, Presley, Hader, 7 1/3, 9 hits, 4 walks, 6 earned runs, 7.36 ERA. This is the greatest trio in MLB history, right? Wrong. Or at least not to the Yankees.
We're 4 games in, dude.
At least to the Yankees, it's a bunch of BP pitchers, right? Oh,
Mm.
Brian Abreu is so knocked down. Josh Hader, what a... Not to the Yankees.
Sorry, I'm gonna go back and clip something from October. You're like, Brian Abreu might be the final boss of athleticism.
Not anymore. Not anymore. He's just a garbage man compared to the Yankees, right? I'm sure they'll be great against other teams. It's just, it's tough when you're going up against the Bronx freaking Bombers right now.
Can we move off this series? Like this is
One
kind
more.
of killing me.
One
All
more,
right,
which I
one
think is
more.
amazing. The fact that the Yankees have been this good, even though Aaron Judge and Gleyber Torres are 4 for 31.
Yeah.
That is huge, right? Because it's assumed that Juan Soto isn't going to hit 529. I'm not one of those people assuming. I think it's possible that he could hit 529 this season. It's assumed that Oswaldo Cabrera is going to hit around 400 this season. They probably will.
Just like any sane person thinks, yeah.
Exactly. But the fact is that the Yankees are battling and winning against the best bullpen and some of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball without the best hitter in baseball in Aaron Judge, and the Yankees' second best hitter from 2023, which was Gleyber Torres. And those guys are 4 for 31. Do you have any takeaways from the Astros? Or
Astros bullpen was my big takeaway. I don't really have anything offensively because guys are sucking that I don't really expect to suck. And, Fromber walking 6, like, is he ever going to do that again? I don't think so. I thought Hunter Brown looked really good in his season debut, and that's a guy that I am attaching my credibility to this year. Like, I need him to be really good because if I had to ID one breakout guy this year, it's Hunter Brown.
more than fair. And listeners of the Just Baseball show, I want to be clear. I'm obviously overreacting.
Correct.
I'm
Yes.
obviously insanely excited. You probably won't get this version of me the entire year. There will be some ups and downs.
No, we're going to get Doomsday in like 2 weeks.
But just let me have this one. I have not been this excited. I mean, I've been smiling the entire podcast so far. I've not been this excited in a very, very long time. So just let me have this one. I won't be as annoying moving forward. But if the Yankees keep winning, I might get worse. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be on pace. I'll be good.
Okay, got you. Let's move on to the Angels and the Orioles, the series that got us going on opening day. My takeaway on the Angels: Ron Washington called a team meeting 2 games into the season.
Not ideal.
My takeaway on the Orioles:
It's so funny. I wrote that down.
Like I saw that report and I told my broadcast partner in Indianapolis, Howard Kalman, who's been doing this for like nearly 50 years. And I love like, hey, I'll give him, story of current day, and then he'll give me something that comps to it in like the 70s or 80s that he heard. And he said, I heard from so and so, and I'm blanking. It was a very famous name. I heard from so and so. And it's a line that I'll remember forever. Bad teams have meetings. I was like, yep, you're right. And you know what? Ron Washington called one 2 games into the season. That's a really tough eat.
Hey, but it seemed to work. I bet on the Orioles money line in game 3, and they lost 4-1 after a masterclass from Reed Detmers. So it obviously worked. Good job,
Devers was
Orioles.
awesome.
Right when I needed you.
Wells was not, but I will say the trio of Gunnar, Corbin Burns, and Grayson Rodriguez. Welcome to the fucking show. That's all I wrote down. Like the Cam Brady campaign thing. It's like these guys were unreal to watch. Corbin Burns, 16 in a row, 11 punch outs. G Rod, man, 9 punch outs in his season debut. He worked, what, 5 innings of 1 run ball?
I think it was 6.
6 innings of 1 run ball. And Gunnar finishing a double shy of the cycle and then making that diving play in like shallow left the next day on Sunday. These guys are going to be unbelievable this year.
Yeah, so I watched almost every inning of this series. I thought it was, just watching the Orioles when they're on fire.
And it's not because of the team that had a meeting. You're watching this because of the home team exclusively.
No, I'm watching it because of the Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore
Yes.
Orioles are must-watch TV. And the only thing I wrote down, like, yes, I'm glad you brought up Burns. I'm glad you brought up Grayson. Both of those guys were elite. However, they were facing kind of mediocre offenses. So my main takeaway from this entire series is, if you're an Orioles fan watching this 22-year-old play shortstop, how are you not falling in love instantly? I think it's very similar to the way Yankee fans are falling in love with Juan Soto. I know Juan Soto is coming in new, so it's a little bit different, but he looks like a superstar. I think I counted 4 Gold Glove caliber plays in 3 games. Elite in the field, hitting the living piss out of the baseball. His outs are line outs. The way he works his at-bats, he doesn't chase. He doesn't go outside the zone. He looks like the most mature player on the field. And I looked it up because I was like, oh, he's probably like 24, 22. I thought he was older than he was, even though I knew he was young, but it was just based off watching those first couple of games. In my head, his age accelerated 2 or 3 years. Because, Orioles, you already have Adley. Anthony Santander looks great. You have this enormous farm system, right? You're watching guys like Jordan Westberg.
Holiday went yard in his first AB. Kobe
Exactly.
Mayo hit a ball 111 in his first AB in Norfolk. Like, it was crazy.
There's so many guys coming up the pipe. But there's only one Gunnar. Gunnar could win the MVP this year. He looked unbelievably good.
He set the tone for this year, and I thought that was really important, and I'm excited to see what he does in the first month and a half, 2 months, because remember last year, that's when his, I guess, true all-star candidacy kind of tanked. He won Rookie of the Year. He was the unanimous Rookie of the Year, but his year could have been Corbin Carroll level if not for the first 6 weeks of his season. If he has a good first 6 weeks, we could be talking about this guy as a 6-win player.
Exactly. Elite defense while probably hitting 30 to 35 home runs, driving in runs somehow, even though he hits leadoff because the bottom of the Orioles lineup is also legit, right? I know he's going to steal his bags too.
Yeah.
6 might be, if he's on this level, he's a 9-WAR player, but
Oh, yeah.
I think a 6-win season is well within his future. This year as a 22-year-old.
Crazy. Let's move to another superstar shortstop that is off to an unreal start. Bobby Witt Jr. finished a knock shy of the cycle, too. That Minnesota-Kansas City series, my takeaways were all Royal focused, all of them. Royce Lewis getting hurt sucks. And, we can make that a takeaway if you want. I don't need to make that a takeaway. Bobby Witt Jr. is 6 for 11 with 5 extra base hits in his first 3 games. And here's the thing that jumps out to me about Kansas City. Cole Reagans had the worst start of all their starters that they ran out there. Seth Lugo went 6 shutout. Brady Singer went 7 shutout with 10 Ks.
I thought Brady looked incredible, and he's been doing so much work this offseason. I was reading articles about him. He was a guy who was a top pitching prospect coming out of Florida, goes to the Royals. pretty sure he comes up and is doing well. And then it was last season that was just a season from hell. And when I'm reading these articles, it's all about the front office and the coaching staff and other players just applauding his work ethic in the offseason. And it paid off in game 3 or 4 or whatever of the Twins versus Royals season. It's exciting. If I'm a Royals fan, like, that's a guy who I'm keying in on, because I think you guys know, right? Royals fans know that Reagans is great. They know that Lugo and Walker are going to be solid arms. But if Brady Singer is a guy, it's a pretty good rotation. And then you have Bobby Witt just hitting enough for one team.
So I called Brady Singer the Royals X Factor because he was really good in 2022. His sinker was 94. His sinker was 91 in 2023. He was terrible in 2023. So I called Brady Singer's sinker the X Factor for the Kansas City Royals. Brady Singer's sinker on Sunday maxed at 94, bottomed out at 91. He sat 93 with it. He got 19 swings. He got 3 whiffs, but people were battering it into the ground. The sinker looked good. The slider was amazing. That's going to be Brady Singer's calling card. But if that sinker is good enough to complement the slider, we're looking at a guy that, again, could eat innings at a mid-3 ERA clip. And you have that on the heels of Reagans, and then you have a Lugo and a Waka to follow. I mean, that can debunk everything we were saying about, like, yeah, they spent, but are they good? No. They could be good if Brady Singer is good.
100%. So my takeaway was how great Brady Singer looked, and you basically covered that. But I also had a takeaway for the Twins. I'm worried about the health of this team.
Yeah, understandably so.
Royce Lewis goes down with the quad, probably a month plus. Max Kepler knee contusion. And I'm watching the Twins in the Royals series, thinking to myself, all right, Buxton is off to a hot start. And I think we know Buxton's history at this point. Like, I hope he stays healthy. Carlos Correa, same thing, off to a great start. I really hope he stays healthy. Pablo Lopez, before he came to Minnesota, injury problems in Miami. I hope he stays healthy. This team is so uber talented. And of course, Yohan Duran is already on the shelf to start the year. This team is so, from top to bottom, there's so many guys, but like, I'm looking at Kirilloff, I'm looking at, other players in their lineup and just thinking to myself, please, for the love of God, stay healthy. Because if they do, they're probably going to win the division. But we saw what their lineup kind of looks like with no Royce Lewis in it. It lacks that extra thump, right? That terrorizer in a lineup.
It's
And
a
if they
middle of the
start-
order presence.
And it's so early already. So I'm praying for health for the Twins, because if they are healthy, they're a playoff contender. And if they're not, they got a problem in this division.
Yeah. Let's move on to the runt of the litter here. The Tigers and the White Sox were on the south side of Chicago.
Yeah.
Give me your Tiger takeaways after I give you my White Sox takeaway. The White Sox threw 40 team at-bats. What do you think the slash line is? Just like guess. Just throw it out there.
100, 200, 300.
Yeah. So literally 100 through 40 ABs. They're 4 for 40. They're slashing 100, 182, 175. And the icing on the cake, Eloy Jimenez and Yohan Moncada both hurt in the 3rd game of the season. Welcome to the White Sox experience. Are you having fun?
Are you having fun? You're a White Sox fan.
No, dude, I'm not watching. Come on.
You weren't even watching. Were you not?
No, I mean,
so
like,
much other great baseball on.
Yeah, I checked the score. Like, why would I waste my eyeballs on that if it's not Tarek Skubal on the mound? Flaherty looked good. I really enjoyed watching Jack Flaherty.
I agree.
But like, why would I? Mike Soroka might not strike a guy out all year. He went with 5 innings, no Ks.
Yeah, I mean,
he might have 2.5 strikeouts per 9. How would you feel about that?
It wasn't ideal. My takeaway for the White Sox, I just wrote down, they have a shot to be the worst team I've ever seen in my entire life. That's what I said. But my Tigers takeaway, I think the White Sox inability to perform even at an average level diminished some Tigers problems.
Okay.
I don't love this Tigers offense. And when I say I don't love it, I mean I kind of hate it. I think they have good pitching. Jason Foley coming out of the bullpen throwing 101-mile-an-hour
Look
sinkers.
gross.
I think they have good pitching overall.
But Lang didn't look good. Like that, it was kind of a give and take thing where Foley looked awesome, Lang looked bad.
100%. But I'm not really worried about the Tigers bullpen. Like, I think overall as a unit, it's very good. I think the rotation has a lot of guys that you can be excited about. But to take the Tigers to the next level, they have to hit. And for Spencer Torkelson to be hitting 231, for Riley Green to be hitting 083, for Cole Keith to be hitting 091, Javi Baez, we know what he is, 153, Parker Meadows hitting 100, Jake Rogers hitting 153. That's most of the lineup. And would you say that the White Sox pitching is tough?
No.
That's why I'm a little bit concerned. And you could say, well, they're in the south side of Chicago. It's a little bit cold. I get it. The Tigers, especially when they're playing in Comerica and these Midwest, I call it the Middle East because that's what it is in the
Yeah,
United
it's not.
States.
No. You're
It's
wrong,
on the
but
Middle
keep
East part
going.
of the United States. It is.
Yeah, you're wrong. Keep going.
It doesn't make any sense that it'd be on the Midwest. The Midwest is like New Mexico.
We're not doing this.
All right, we're not doing this. I completely lost my train of
there
thought.
you go.
What I am noticing from the Tigers is that I feel like they need a lot to go right. And it is early, obviously, right? These are takeaways. We're trying to take something away from the series. I went into this season being down on the Tigers offense. I like some of the players, right? I like Riley Green. I like Spencer Torkelson. I like Kerry Carpenter. But when those guys aren't really hitting it, it just seems to me, where are we getting the hits from? And I am worried about this offense. They need way more thump than they're getting right now. And maybe they'll heat up in the summer, and they totally can. But right now, I was very underwhelmed by the offense considering the competition level.
Understood. Let's move to Milwaukee and the Mets. They were postponed on opening day. They got their seasons going on Friday. The New York Mets really hate Rhys Hoskins, huh? That was my big thing.
What do you think about that when it happened?
So what Rhys Hoskins did is not bad. It's something that exists. It's something
It was a
that
little dirty. I mean,
it's
like
something
it
that
was
is
definitely trying to break up the double play.
for sure. And
Yeah.
by the rule book, that is frowned upon now after Chase Utley killed. Why am I blanking? Mets.
Daniel Murphy.
No, not Murphy. I'll find it on Google in a moment while you talk. But it is frowned upon now by the Major League Baseball rule book. But what Hoskins did, like, I don't really consider that an overt dirty play. I think McNeil got his feelings hurt when he didn't need to get his feelings hurt. Ruben Tejada. Cooper is sitting in the other room right now. Thank you for the text, Cooper. Ruben Tejada was who it was. But like, I don't know. I thought that McNeil's reaction was worse than Hoskins' action, and it was just tempers flaring everywhere. I'm excited for these two to meet up in Milwaukee later in the year. But yeah, my takeaway is like, was it kind of, bad from Hoskins? I guess. Was it super lame from McNeil? Yes.
I agree. It was dirty-ish from Hoskins, but the way McNeil reacted was a little bit much. And now it's probably dating back to Rhys Hoskins' time in Philadelphia, right? He
Yes,
probably already didn't
probably.
like him. He came in a little bit hard. It wasn't like a clean play. Like there was some dirtiness to it. And McNeil freaked out. Like I feel like McNeil has a history of kind of just overreacting to specific plays. I mean, been to Citi Field watching Mets games, and Jeff McNeil always has something to say and something to overreact to. But beyond the fight, I mean, obviously the Mets look terrible, but that's not really my takeaway. My takeaway from this series, I went into the season thinking that the Brewers, right, when I bet them to win the division, I was saying, I think this offense is something that's going to sneak up on people, right? Because there's not a ton of big names. But William Contreras is just carrying over what he did from 23. He's already hitting 385. Yelich is just the man, hitting 455. Willie Adames looked good, had some great ABs. He's hitting 333. Bryce Terang, right? One of those guys who's fringe. Is he going to play second? Is the bat going to show up? I don't know if it's going to continue the entire season, but he's off to a hot start hitting 455. Jackson Chourio comes up, super young player, gets on base, steals his first bag. Now he's hitting 417 in the series. Rhys Hoskins was showing that power. This lineup is a lot deeper than most people give them credit. Everyone is already awarding the Cubs the division, or the Reds, or the Cardinals. This Brewers lineup can bang with any of those lineups when they're on, right? Because there are going to be slides here. And the pitching, right? Like guys like Colin Ray. Obviously, we know about Freddie Peralta. DL Hall, I thought looked pretty good. And then the bullpen is locked down. So they're going to win more close games than they lose. And if the offense shows up, you still got to deal with that pitching staff. I still feel good about my Brewers to win the division bet. And I know obviously it's insanely early and there's other great teams in the division, obviously. Yeah. But I got to say, didn't they kind of excite you?
They excited me. The Mets' inability to get to Freddie Peralta excited me about Freddie Peralta. Excited me about one starter, Freddie Peralta. He's not an ace yet, but he is a one. And now that he's got kind of like the keys to the Corvette when it comes to the starting rotation, he looked very confident. What I will say is we knew that these guys could spawn relievers, but like here they go. They're spawning more, and some of the guys that broke out last year are continuing to look awesome. I think Abner Uribe looks great. No, he got hit for a homer in his second outing, but like he looks awesome. Piamps looks great. Trevor McGill is a guy, I don't really like labeling people quad A guys, quadruple A, where they're too good for triple A. They're not good enough for the big leagues. But I think Trevor McGill would tell you himself that he was pretty much a quad A guy. And then all of a sudden he's throwing 100 in St. Paul last year. And guess what? Like Milwaukee finds him and Milwaukee turns him into a stud. So they do as well as anybody at grabbing relievers and fostering excellence from them.
Don't you think that the Brewers kind of remind you of the National League Rays in a way? It's not the exact same, but it's like they keep losing stars. They keep losing stars. And then they're just, it's like Billy Bean in Moneyball. Brad Pitt will recreate them in the aggregate.
I'm not going that far yet because I haven't seen them replace Corbin Burnes with two guys. We knew what Freddie's capability was. And the reality is they paid Christian Yelich big money. They're willing to give out the big money deal. So I don't know if it's necessarily apples to apples, but in terms of young talent capitalizing on a lot of league minimum guys, they are kind of raising, and I can appreciate that.
I'm just thinking about in the National League, what's a team that you think is as close to the Rays as the Brewers?
I don't think there is one. I think they're kind of in their own boat, but yeah, I guess they would be the closest.
That's my feel, that they can just spawn guys that you haven't really heard of and just get solid production. That's what I'm saying. Down the lineup, in the rotation, it's not a lot of guys that you heard of. Yeah. But then you look in the sixth inning and Colin Ray's gone 5 innings, 1 run. And you're like, oh, well, whatever. It was just Colin Ray.
And it's not sexy.
Same thing. It's not sexy, right? There's not a ton of strikeout stuff. Like DL Hall didn't look great, but it was also his first start with the Brewers. I thought he looked pretty good. It's a good team. Just don't sleep on the Brewers this year.
We'll see. Let's go to Atlanta or Philly. Braves, Phillies. This was a weird one, and it was somewhat uncompetitive from the Phillies in one game, and then it was, tight, and then got uncompetitive late. It was back and forth. Like, I frankly couldn't get a read on either side.
I agree.
In this game. I don't know if you had anything on this, but like honestly, my takeaway is too early to tell with both these teams.
No, my takeaway is that we know
we're 3 games into the season,
that the Braves and the Phillies are 2 of the best teams in Major League Baseball. I think people all understand that. I had one takeaway from the Phillies. I thought their defense looks much improved. And we talked about this early on in the regular season, but to see it live made me feel good about that take, right? Bringing Kyle Schwarber into the DH position. Now you have Brandon Marsh in left. You have Johan Rojas in center. You move Bryce Harper to first. He's off to a great start. Bohm looks better at third base, right? He's not making every single play. Those ones where he's charging in on, he still has to improve on those, but Bohm is getting better and better defensively. It seems like the only hole when I watch the Phillies defense now is Trey Turner at shortstop. So that was my takeaway. And I tweeted it out like, forget everything you thought you knew about the Phillies defense, about how when Schwarber was in left and, they've had years where they were one of the worst defensive teams in Major League Baseball. It's not that way anymore. On the Braves side, there's not really much to take away. Acuna, Albies, Olsen, Riley. I mean, they just all rake all the way down to Michael Harris. But it goes a little bit longer in that lineup, and that was my takeaway. Did they find something in Jared Kelenic? I mean, it's early. It's early. But in his first series as a Brave, this is tweeted from our Just Baseball account. Single, ground out, single, 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 walk, ground out, double. He's hitting 714. If he's their left fielder and he is this lauded prospect, right? Traded for Edwin Diaz and Robinson Cano, that big deal. Talk some shit to Seattle and it never really worked out there. And then he goes to Atlanta. I mean, this is an elite prospect. And what do the Braves get the most out of? They're probably going to pay him $10 million a year if he keeps hitting like this for the next 20 years. And then he'll donate half of his salary to the Braves Foundation, just like they all do. That was my big takeaway. Because, I mean, I know what I'm getting from everybody. Chris Sale looked great, but I feel like we knew that.
Yeah.
But Jared Kelenic, if he's also great, we have an issue in Atlanta.
It was reassuring to see Sale perform well. And he didn't shove per Chris Sale's standards, but he looked solid. And this version of Chris Sale, I thought was really comforting for Atlanta Braves fans.
Looked better than the stat line today. The velocity was great. He looked all the way back. It looked like Chris Sale.
Yeah, simply put, I think Atlanta was just looking for an upgrade over an Eddie Rosario type, and they found it in Jared Kelenic, and they have Adam Duvall to platoon with him. But man, if Kelenic hammers right-handed pitching, this is going to be fun. It's going to be fun for Braves fans. It's not going to be fun for the rest of the National League.
Yeah, that platoon is crazy because Adam Duvall came in to pinch hit against a lefty. I think it was Matt Strom and just ripped a double into the left field gap or down the line.
That's what he does.
That's what he does.
They're paying him a couple $1 million to do that.
Yeah, if you have a great hitter against lefties, kind of like what Teoscar does for the Dodgers, and then you have Jared Kelenic, who can also play some defense and then hit righties, your left field is taken care of, and then around the diamond, everything is taken care of. I am a little bit worried about Sean Murphy, though. I hope he's okay.
Yeah. Let's move over to Cincinnati. We've got the Nats and the Reds who got going in a 3-game set. My big takeaway was on the Cincinnati front.
Mine too.
Hunter Green is going to frustrate the shit out of me again, isn't he?
That was my exact takeaway. But I have more of a glass full approach with him.
So I'll let you get into that. I will say, Will Benson, fire me up. Nick Martini, fire me all the way up. Multi-homer day on opening day, but Hunter Green was the one that jumped out. Alexis Diaz, it was one outing. I'm not ready to slam the panic button on Alexis Diaz, but
are you sure?
Hunter
because
Green
he lost me Reds money line. He did. So
sorry. Yeah, apologies for that.
I'm ready to demote
You're willing
him
to throw him. Yeah, that's fine. You throw him to the wayside if you want. I'm not willing to do it yet, but Hunter Green, the final line on him, 4 2/3, 5 hits, 2 earned. So 4 2/3, 2, whatever. 7 punch outs and 4 2/3. Cool. He walked 4. This is the Hunter Green experience again. If he stopped walking 4 guys per start, if he stopped flirting with no hitters, but hey, he's got 6 walks, so he's not going to make it 8. I would feel like this guy's a frontline guy. He shows us frontline all the time, but it's never across 2 weeks. It's never even across a full start because an inning will get away from him. And it kills me.
From Bryce Spalding on Twitter. He's a great follow.
Yeah,
Reds
awesome.
fans, you probably already know of him, but he's a great follow on Twitter. Bryce Spalding. Hunter Green had a 455 batting average on balls in play in his start. That's insanity. 3.43 FIP, fielding independent pitching. He only allowed a 27.3% hard hit rate, which is fantastic. 84.8 mile an hour exit velo against. That's fantastic. I thought among all starts in Major League Baseball over the opening day, series. He looked so much better than the stat line showed. The defense behind him, dog shit. There were a couple of calls that led to walks. They were strikes. I thought the slider looked fantastic. I thought his fastball had that similar bite. Have you been noticing that in this cold weather, like a lot of the guys' velo isn't quite there?
Yeah.
He was 100. He had no problem with that, right? And it wasn't some crazy warm day in Cincinnati. We're still in the low 60s. He looked like a frontline guy to me, even though the stat line read fourth starter, right? I think he didn't. I only saw like one or two hard hit balls, and they were pretty much all from Joey Meneses. If I'm a Reds fan, I'm throwing the stat line out the window and thinking to myself, this guy with Montes, that's a front two. I'll buy low on Hunter Green's next start. I thought he looked way better than the stat line showed.
Love it. Okay. Washington, do you have anything? Josiah Gray was not good, which stunk, but whatever.
I mean, CJ Abrams is so exciting.
He is. He's
I mean,
he's electrifying.
Yeah, maybe I'm biased because my biggest player prop bet is his over 37.5 stolen bases. I bet on him to lead the league in stolen bases. But whenever he gets on first, it's stolen. And you can't say that about a lot of guys, right? Like you can say that about Acuna, but at the same time, the dude got caught stealing 15 to 17 times last year.
Mhm.
Abrams got caught 4 times in all of 2023, and now he's 3 for 3. And 2 of the stolen bases, it wasn't even close. And then he hit a home run in the series too. When we talked about the Nationals over the offseason, right? We have to find their core. CJ Abrams is undoubtedly a part of that core moving forward. So if I'm a Nationals fan, I'm buying a CJ Abrams jersey. I think he's going to be in Washington for a long time unless, he declines a $440 million extension and then gets traded to San Diego and then goes to the Yankees and hits 529.
Yeah, so I don't view him as a $440 million player personally.
Should we just talk about Juan Soto again?
Yeah, we can if you want. What was your takeaway? Juan Soto's a New York Yankee?
Yeah, that's my takeaway. No,
Okay.
I thought it was a great time watching CJ Abrams. Now, the rest of the Nationals, Trey Lipscomb made some great plays at third.
Tell you what, I was having this conversation with Aram, I think, via text, because Lipscomb is a guy that we saw every time we turned on the TV during spring training. And I said, Lipscomb's going up for his big league debut. And it's like, what? How? And the answer was Nick Senzel was taking ground balls at Great American Ballpark, and he broke his thumb. He's got to get out of Great American Ballpark. He should have like an opt out of any trip to Cincinnati in the remainder of his contract.
100% correct.
That place is cursed for him.
Is he drafted second overall?
Second overall out of Tennessee in 2016, 2015 or 2016. Fact check me in the YouTube comments.
Fact check him in the YouTube comments.
Yes, but Senzel, I mean, he goes to Cincinnati and his bones turn into balsa wood. It's just bizarre what's going on there. Let's move to Toronto and Tampa Bay.
Before we get to that, right? You guys know I'm on CJ Abrams over stolen bases. All of this stuff is really brought to you by Outlier.
Yes.
So what Outlier is, it's a sports betting decision assistant for aspiring intermediate and advanced sports bettors who understand that data is the foundation of a profitable sports betting strategy. I use it every single day. Outlier pairs hyper contextual and relevant sports data with available betting markets. Unlike traditional sports data sites like ESPN or Baseball Reference, what Outlier does and why I love it so much is that it organizes and visualizes data for easy comprehension. Like a monkey could literally read this stuff, but it's packed full of data. It has efficient decision making and immediate execution, which is huge for making more bets. Make sure to check out their first of its kind strike zone heat maps, which I love, and pitch arsenal roundups allow you to quickly visualize pitcher and batter matchups all in one screen. It's available on iOS, desktop, and mobile browsers, so you can find it in the episode description. There's a 7-day free trial to try it out. If you are a sports bettor, I'm telling you, all you need is Outlier, and it will make you a more profitable sports bettor. It was huge for me in the NFL, and it hasn't been Outlier's fault that I've been picking bad games, right? They give you a bunch of options. Not all of them are going to win. I've been picking some of the wrong ones. That's not an outlier. That's on me. But it gives you all the information that you need. Go check out that 7-day free trial. Remember, you can cancel it if you don't like it, but I bet you're not. I bet you're going to like it. I'm obsessed with it. It's in the right. We do ads all the time, but like when we genuinely use something, like I use Outlier every day, must get episode description.
So I used it to just contextualize what I thought could happen in the postseason. And we did our first deal with Outlier during last MLB postseason. And I was using Outlier for all those previews that I was putting out on social media. And obviously, I wasn't betting on the postseason, but I viewed it as a useful tool to just like understand what could happen in that game. And it is like, from your perspective, I understand how ridiculously valuable it is. Even though like I'm not betting on baseball, it is still ridiculously valuable. It's a prep tool. It's
100%.
awesome. Highly
100%.
recommend.
Highly recommend. And I think you make a great point here too. Like even if you're not a gambler, sometimes I'm using Outlier to just check on stats because it's easier and they
It's
all
easy.
gather in the same spot instead of like other ones you have to like search around, you have to queue things up. They have it all on one sheet, everything you could possibly lead. I'm like learning new things about baseball by just using Outlier. No brainer.
Yeah.
Go try it. And if you don't like it, cancel. But I bet you won't cancel because it's awesome in the episode description. Let's keep it
The
moving.
interface is phenomenal. Let's move to Tampa, Toronto and Tampa. Toronto, hot and cold days for the offense. You know, Vladdy looked really good. And then it was like, okay, Bichette looked good one day, whatever. George Springer had a couple homers. Okay. He's hitting like, he really didn't have much outside of that. I do want to point to Jose Barrios being good, Kevin Gausman being great in his first two starts. But really, my take from this series is on the Tampa side. These games matter. They had a bunch of eyeballs, so Randy Arozarena was good. Like Randy's bad months are going to come in June and July and August, but man, April he's going to be on. March he's on. September, October he's on. The Tampa pitching staff. Eflin lays an egg. So what happens after that? Aaron Savali goes 6 innings, a one-run ball, and then Zach Littell goes 6 shutout innings. They have their guys. We haven't even seen Pepio throw yet.
He throws against the Rangers on today, right? Because today's Monday's episode. Yeah, I had the exact same takeaway. The exact same one. I think the Rays have figured out a rotation despite having Taj Bradley, Shane Baz, Shane McClanahan, Jeffrey Springs, and Drew Rasmussen all on the IL. That's a full elite rotation that you have on the injured list. Zach Eflin, I watched every inning of that game. I truly think he looked great and had that one bad inning. I blame Kevin Cash. I think Eflin was out too long. Savali, dominant. And Lance Brosdowski, he sends out his kind of his Substack, which I highly recommend checking out, Lance Brosdowski on Twitter. And he was talking about Aaron Savali's sweeper and the difference in sweep and both breaking balls, how he slowed them down in terms of velocity and added spin. So the Rays are obviously doing something. Same thing with Zach Littell. Different breaking balls. I thought all of them looked great. And then we get to see Ryan Pepiot, the guy who they got for Tyler Glass now against the Rangers. I'm probably going to be on Rays money line, Jack.
Are
And
you?
versus Dane Dunning, what do you think? I mean, I love Pepiot.
I love Pepio too. I like Tampa.
The Blue Jays, my takeaway from them is they're exactly who I thought they were. They're going to have good starting pitching, not elite, but good. They're going to have a good bullpen once Romano and Swanson come back.
So
And the
let me
offense
ask you.
is top heavy, but
Yeah.
they've gotten some contributions from guys at the bottom of the lineup. They're exactly who I thought they were.
So let me ask you, is exactly who you thought they were a postseason team?
It's going to be, I think.
See, it's
No,
hard for you to answer that. It's hard for you to answer that, and that's not a good thing that they're exactly who you thought they were.
I mean, exactly who I thought they were was an 86-win team that's just on the outside looking into the postseason. Like, that's what they look like to me. A good team, tough to beat, can beat anyone at any time, but can also lose to anyone at any time. And there's some inconsistencies in their lineup, and there's some inconsistencies on defense. Bo Bichette looked terrible defensively, but we're not going to talk about that.
3-error game.
I mean,
Again, that's a curse word.
I
Bo
texted that in
Bichette's
the
a
group
curse
chat.
word.
I texted that in the group chat. I was like, he arguably looks worse defensively, not better, not even the same, worse.
Crazy.
We'll see. The bat's special though.
It is. Hey, go ahead, right? But 3 errors in a game is Indefensible.
Also, Vladdy had a blue pit. I watched almost every Vladdy at bat because of my bets last year.
Yeah.
I don't think he had one blue pit all year. Of course, he gets one in like the first series.
The times they are changing. Let's go to Arlington, Cubs and Texas. I don't have anything on the Cubs. Hope Justin Steele is back quickly. My Rangers, Wyatt Langford looks like the truth. He doesn't have the homer yet. He doesn't have the 1800 OPS through 3 games that everybody wants to, guffaw about, but he looks really solid. He's got a triple to his name already. He's not punching out much. Adolis Garcia is going to hit 50 this year, isn't he? He's
Yeah,
got two through the front weekend.
he
He
looks like Superman.
he looks like Superman that can lift the ball whenever he wants. He really feels like a 50 homer guy this year.
100%. Yeah, I had no takeaways from Texas at all. Outside of like Wyatt Langford looks really fun and like
Yeah.
it looks good, right? My takeaway is on the Cubs side. And as a Chicago guy, you tell me if I'm off base here. Remember when we did our X Factors? Christopher Morel is the X Factor for this team.
Yes.
Because when you look at the Cubs lineup, it's good, right? You got Ian Happ, you got Seiya Suzuki, you got Cody Bellinger, you got Dansby Swanson, you got Nico Horner. You got a lot of guys who can get that base hit that double in the gap. And they can hit homers, but there's no thump in the lineup. But with Morel hitting fourth and with his power potential, if he can be the guy, normally we watch Christopher Morel hit 15 home runs in 2 weeks and then go 3 months without a home run. If he can be more consistent from the power output side and put up that 30 home run season that he completely has in the bank, that would be enormous for this Cubs lineup. Because there are going to be days, right? The starting pitchers, right? Tayon's going, and I'm really excited to see Shota Imanaga pitch, but in reality, the starting pitching is not ideal. The bullpen, I think, is fine, but it's not elite, but it's good enough to win you games. But if they can find a guy who can slug, a guy who can hit that 3-run home run when they need it, the Cubs can win this division. So I think Christopher Morel is enormous, and obviously he had a great weekend. Didn't he hit 2 home runs? He had at least one.
He hit one.
With my own eyes.
Yeah, he hit one. I'm with you, man. Like he's very important to the grand scheme of the Cubs season. Let's move to Miami. Pirates, Marlins. Jared Jones. If you don't know, now you know. 10 punch outs in his major league debut. First Pirate to do it since Tim Wakefield, I think in 1992. Most swings and misses in a big league debut since 2009. Is that right? I know it's on Twitter. I'll find the exact number, but 22 whiffs, 10 punch outs in his major league debut. I got to sit there and watch him and call his games for 2.5, 3 months last year, and I got to interact with him. I know how that dude ticks. You will love how that guy ticks. You will love watching that guy pitch. Did the Marlins stink? Yeah, they did. Did their bullpen cough shit up? Yeah, they did. Did Luis Ortiz look solid? Yeah, he did. My big takeaway from this opening weekend for the Pirates was Jared freaking Jones.
Yeah, you could say, the Marlins are bad, or, if you faced off against the A's, they're Major League Baseball players. 22 whiffs against Major League Baseball players is elite. Guy was so dialed, Jack. 80-1 rookie of the year.
Did you get it?
No, I didn't bet it, but I should have. And now I'm regretting it. I probably will after this podcast is over.
So Sarah Langs, Jared Jones, 22 swings and misses, the most by a pitcher in his big league debut in the pitch tracking era. So since 2008, that's ahead of Johnny Cueto in his major league debut in 2008, Alex Colomé in his major league debut, and Freddie Peralta in his big league debut. Freddie Peralta got 18 whiffs. Note that I didn't really say any clunker of a name. Who is that? You know who Johnny Cueto is. You know who Freddie Peralta is. You should know who Alex Colomé is.
That's kind of a clunker.
I don't think Alex Colomé is a clunker name. You know what? Let me check his service time. I bet he's got 10 years of big league service.
In the bullpen.
Yeah, that's fine.
No,
that's a 10-year big leaguer is a 10-year big leaguer.
No, but I'm not trying to talk down on Alex Colomé and disrespect Jared Jones or disrespect anybody. I just, it's Alex Colomé.
Colomé has 8 years and 129 days of service. So I will see myself out.
No, but still, I mean, Jared Jones was fantastic. Can we talk about the Marlins?
Go ahead. Like, do you have anything? Jazz Chisholm hit a grand slam. That was sick.
I mean, 33 and 13 in one-run games. And opening day, they lose a one-run game. And then in game 4, they get out to a 5-0 lead and blow it. Like, this team has talent, but it's going to be hard for them to win games this year because I think a lot of their bullpen arms overperformed last year, and they have not been up to stuff recently. And I think the Pirates are a good team. But at the end of the day, it's still the Pittsburgh Pirates. You get swept at home in a 4-game series, blowing multiple leads. Not good. Really, really not good. Besides the White Sox, they were my most disappointing team of this opening series.
I can get behind that. If Colorado didn't win on Sunday, I would,
they won on Saturday.
Put them, but they won on Sunday. Won. So yeah, I can get behind that.
And they won big. They won 9-4.
I know. Let's jump to that Colorado Arizona series here. I didn't have much on Arizona. Like, hey, is Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Timothy Chalamet? He might be.
Here, let me give you my Arizona takeaway. I know it's the Rockies. I know.
Yeah.
But their offense is a problem.
It's deep. It's long. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. It's so long. Adding Jock Peterson, adding a Eugenio Suarez was so big to lengthen this lineup and give them some extra thump. 32 runs, 4 games. They have 5 players with an OPS over 1,000 already. And I know it's the Rockies. But the reason I'm bringing it up, they scored 32 runs without Corbin Carroll, Alec Thomas, and Gabriel Moreno doing basically nothing. So it was kind of similar to the Yankees, right? Where the Yankees looked amazing, but it was without really Judge and Torres. I saw the same thing with the Diamondbacks. Now, I get it, lesser competition, but I think everybody kind of expected, maybe not everybody, but definitely some people underrated the Diamondbacks, thought there was some World Series hangover, thought that they didn't deserve to go there. This team is an issue because Merrill Kelly could still ball. Brandon Pfaadt looked great, right? Zach Allen didn't look great, but they won 16-1 anyway. And my last takeaway is nobody's talking about how that Rockies bullpen, after they scored 14 runs in the third, shut them down for the rest of the game. How about it? How about it, Rocktober? Didn't give up any runs after that. That's a plus.
That is a plus. My Rocky takeaway, do you know what Chris Bryant's doing in his first with 3 games?
I mean, I could guess.
Okay, guess.
100, 200, 300?
He's got 10 EBs.
I don't remember seeing him get a hit.
Chris Bryant's 0 for 10 with 7 Ks to open up his season.
Yeah.
It's a very sad thing. Like, it makes me sad.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make me that sad because he took a ton of money to go there.
Yeah,
I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for guys when they have their bag filled with money. And he took an enormous contract to go to Colorado. And you can say maybe he thought that they'd be better. No, you didn't. Stop. No, you didn't.
Did Scotty B lead him astray? You know, Scotty B has led a lot of people astray.
I mean, he didn't lead him astray because he got an enormous contract. He wasn't getting that from anybody else. So I'm thinking, he's probably thinking to himself, I won my World Series. I'm a king in the city of Chicago. I'm going to be a legend there forever. Now it's time for me to get paid. And he got paid enormously well.
And live in
now
Denver.
This is the reality of it.
I bet Chris Bryant is a big craft beer guy. Like, he saw Denver and was like, you know what? I'm going to get 2 dogs. I'm going to go to craft breweries all the time, and I'm going to have a ton of fun.
Do you think he's an IPA snob?
He definitely strikes me as an IPA snob. He's 30. He's still kind of rocking this mohawk thing. He seems like an IPA guy. Does he not?
You're being way meaner to Chris Bryant than I was.
I'm not being mean. I love him. I'm just acknowledging appearance and what it may mean.
It's not entirely inaccurate.
Yeah.
We should get him on the pod. I'd love to talk to him.
Yeah, I know. I would love to talk to Chris Bryant. Okay, 4 more series. Boston and Seattle. My takeaway here for both sides, starting pitching was amazing. Joely Rodriguez was a choice on Saturday night, but
Why didn't you go to
Um,
Kenley? Is he hurt? He must be hurt.
Kenley's hurt.
Yeah.
Kenley's hurt. But Cutter Crawford, 6 innings, no earned runs, 7 punch outs, 1 walk. Nick Pivetta, 6 innings, a 1 run ball, 10 Ks, no walks. And then you go to Seattle's side. Logan Gilbert went 7 in his first start of the season. Who does that? 7 innings, 1 run, 8 Ks, 1 walk. George Kirby, 6 2/3, 2 hits, no runs, 8 Ks, 2 walks. Is George Kirby washed?
He washed. No, it's so funny. He walked, I think, the first batter of the game. And I was like, that's the most baseball thing ever. The guy who's the king of walks, his first AB is a walk. That's why this game makes no sense. And
It makes no sense. But I thought this was a very aesthetically fun series to follow when it came to starting pitching. And it was kind of par for the course with Seattle. I actually thought Castillo underwhelmed, but I was pleasantly surprised with Boston's starting pitching lines.
Yeah, you took my Boston takeaway. I just wanted to applaud their starting pitching. I thought Nick Pivetta looked awesome. I thought Cutter Crawford looked awesome. I thought
And
Brian
Bayo
Bale
was good.
I thought Brian Bale looked solid. But my Seattle takeaway is a little bit more negative. And maybe it's my preseason bias carrying over, and now it's more confirmation bias. I was really nervous about this offense, and it showed. Now, give credit to the Red Sox pitchers. That's why it's not something that I'm sounding any alarms on. Obviously, it's way too early. But what I did say is that if they don't get excellent starting pitching and excellent bullpen work, they're not going to win a ton of games, right? Luis Castillo, he didn't get blown up. He gave up 4 earned.
Yeah.
They lost. Bryce Miller displays this new splitter. Looks pretty good, right? I mean, he got hit a little bit and they lose, right? So if the starter isn't elite, they're not going to win a lot of games. Brian Wu was on the shelf, right? So I'm looking at this Mariners team. Before the season, I was very worried about the offense, and it showed in full colors, in full display. But that's why I'm just mentioning it because I also want to give credit to the Red Sox pitching staff. I thought they were fantastic. So maybe that's more of what it is. And then the Mariners come out and they hit everybody else. I don't know. But it was something that I was worried about preseason, and it showed against the Sox.
I think Cleveland, Seattle tonight in Seattle. Make sure you watch it 9:40 if it's not past your bedtime. Emerson Hancock and Tristan McKenzie. I think Hancock's start is going to tell us a lot about the state of the Seattle Mariners because if they can go 5 deep, then I think you're looking at a team that it's like, oh, it may not matter that they may not hit some nights, but Hancock may struggle. And if Hancock struggles, you're waiting on Brian Wu to come back. And at that point, it's like, well, you need to hit a little bit. J-Rod delivering the first walk-off of the year was great. Love that. Poetic. Yep. But I do think Hancock is going to tell us a lot tonight. Couple of notable games tonight. But I'm going to be multi-screening. I've got McKenzie and Hancock, and then I've got USC UConn in the Women's Elite Eight. That's going to be good, too.
Yeah, I'll have a baseball game on instead of that one. But
yeah go ahead, man.
Probably
whatever you want to say. All right, a couple more series. San Francisco, San Diego. Jordan Hicks.
Yep.
Holy smokes. The Giants, they spent money. I applaud them for spending money. And some of those guys look awesome. Jung-Hoo Lee looked great in the first weekend. And Jordan freaking Hicks, the starting pitcher. Wow.
That was my big takeaway from this entire series. I really didn't have anything from the Padres. They're very similar to the Blue Jays. They are who I thought they were. They're going to hit, right? They destroyed Dalton Jeffries. They're going to hit in spots, and they're going to look lifeless in spots. My massive takeaway from this series is Jordan Hicks and Kyle Harrison are going to decide where the Giants go this season. Harrison, 6 innings, 2 earned, 5 Ks. Jordan Hicks, 5 innings, 3 hits, no earned, 6 strikeouts. We know how good Logan Webb is. We know how good Blake Snell is. But if those guys can cover that 3rd and 4th outing, and then you might go with an opener or a Keaton Wynn or a Ryan Walker or whoever you go with, they weirdly win more of those games than they don't. So if you can win those Kyle Harrison and Jordan Hicks starts, you're really going to compete here, and this could be a playoff team.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we had this debate before the season started, Giants versus Padres? I was more Giants. You and Arm were more Padres. Do you still have the same feeling? Obviously, it's very early. When you watched that series, was your takeaway, yes, the Padres are definitely better? I'm curious.
No, I mean, like, and again, we're one weekend into the big
Just your
league
feel.
season.
Just your feel.
My feel doesn't change at all. I'm excited to watch Giants games. I don't think that changes where they end up in the division, but it does change the number of games that I'm willingly going to put on my TV as the featured game and not have it be one of the secondary games. Because I am fascinated by Jordan Hicks's next start. I'm going to make a total point to watch Jordan Hicks's next start. Jung Hoo Lee, when I see him on, that's where my attention's going to be. So that's kind of how my perception of the Giants has changed. It changes from a sex appeal standpoint. It doesn't change from a results standpoint because at the end of the day, Dylan Cease, Yu Darvish, and Joe Musgrove are in the other rotation. And Michael King is in that rotation too. And that lineup that has that rotation has Xander Bogaerts, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Manny Machado. And I will always side with them over San Francisco a weekend into the season.
More than fair. I just think that it's a toss up right now for the fifth best team in the National League. I think we kind of know who the four best are, at least right now, in my opinion. Atlanta, Dodgers, Phillies, D-backs. After that, who's the fifth best team? I
And
think the
I would give the
Giants.
slight edge to San Diego, but the Giants are six.
That's okay. I would go Giants and then maybe San Diego. And there's obviously some teams in the Central too that could compete there. But
Got you.
they're in the running, in my opinion, through the first opening series. I would put them right now as the fifth best team in the National League.
Got
Things
you.
could obviously change.
Two more, Cleveland and Oakland. Did you have anything from this Cleveland one? I've got literally one takeaway from Cleveland and Oakland.
My takeaway is that the A's lineup is not that bad.
Again, we're doing this again.
We're doing this again. Shane Bieber, Logan Allen, Tanner Bybee, and Carlos Carrasco. They faced good pitching staffs. They faced good bullpens. And yeah, there were some blowouts in there. But Esteury Ruiz is playing well. JJ Bleday looks pretty good. JD
Center.
Davis looks pretty good. Jay Langeliers looks pretty good. Lawrence Butler is all right. Like, they have been hitting with no production from Seth Brown and no production from their, we assume, all-star Zach Geloff. I'm just saying, the A's lineup is not that bad.
Was Lawrence Butler your futures game crush this year or the year before? I think it was this year.
This year. He was the guy where I was, no, well, Junior Caminero was. And
Caminero.
Jacob Zarowski with Milwaukee.
Okay, yeah. Caminero, Mizorowski, and Lawrence Butler, I think were
Yes,
your
Lawrence
three.
Butler was my 3, 100%.
Okay,
It was like,
got
this
you.
dude, this guy's box office. Whether he plays well or not, I'm intrigued.
The drip is out of
He
control.
looks awesome.
Awesome. My only takeaway from this was Shane Bieber looked better pitch by pitch across the board. I know that like that was my opening night takeaway, and then on social media, I feel like I saw a comment or two on Instagram that it's like, LOL, he faced the A's. How can you say you would move heaven and earth for him at the
A's
deadline?
lineup isn't that bad. That's why I wanted to bring it up.
Yes, that, comma, and Bieber was 93.
Yeah.
If Shane Bieber's 93, he's great.
He can get out any lineup. Like, he just happened to face the A's first, but if this velo is here, he is going to dominate most lineups.
He could have been seeing anybody but Atlanta, I think, and he could have. I mean, the Dodgers are our last series, and we'll just get to it right now. The Dodgers front three is something that you have never, ever, ever seen before. But my big thing that I want to highlight is this starting rotation. Bobby Miller looked like a man possessed. He looked like he was supercharged for the night. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is really good, folks. Don't be fooled by that Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern. Tyler Glasnow looks like Tyler Glasnow. Lance Lynn, I love how competitive he was, and I loved his quote. It was like, they're already freaking loaded, so fuck it, let it rip. Like, that's the most Lance Lynn shit I've ever heard. This Cardinals lineup is borderline lethargic. There's way more talent here than output, and that was an issue last year. It might be an issue again this year, but that Dodger rotation and the front four in that lineup is like, I'm going to tell my grandkids about type stuff.
100%. And, you know, we could talk about how great the Dodgers are. We could talk about how Mookie is somehow like a great defensive shortstop. That's what I wrote down.
Yeah.
Because, like, Bobby Miller dominated. Gavin Stone looked good in Sunday Night Baseball. But how about the fact that the Cardinals are probably going to take 2 of 4? Right? They're winning right now as we're recording. It's Sunday night. It's 4-2 in the 7th inning. And the reason I want to bring it up is I called them ass. I called them lethargic. I said that they looked terrible. They looked a lot better. A lot better. They kept battling. Obviously, the Dodgers are more talented. But the fact is, in the opening series at Dodger Stadium, the Cardinals are probably going to come away with 2 wins, unless they blow it, right? And this looks like a bad take because who knows? They might blow it. I don't think they
So
will. But the fact is, like, whenever it wasn't an elite arm, right? When Joe Kelly came in, they jumped on him. They took their opportunities. They had a never say die attitude, at least in the following games. So I will give the Cardinals credit. They looked better. It looked like a more active franchise. It looked like there was more energy. It was a more exciting ball club that I was excited to watch this season, and it looked better.
I will say they did look uncompetitive against the elite, and that could have been the elite being the elite. Like,
Yeah.
but they kind of laid an egg against Yamamoto and they laid an egg against Bobby Miller. And hey, those guys are really good. I know that they're really good, and I know that it's nearly impossible for anybody on the planet, big league hitter or not, to make it competitive. But Paul Goldschmidt was the only guy with a hit against Tyler Glasnow, and then Yamamoto looks like the best pitcher on the planet. The night after, Bobby Miller looks like the best pitcher on the planet. So I do need to discredit them for not handling any of the great, but I'm with you. Like the good, that's how they might split this series.
Yeah, the thing is, they faced incredible pitching. They're facing Otani, Freeman, Mookie, Will Smith, Max Muncy, Teoscar Hernandez. They're facing all these guys, this elite bullpen, and they're probably going to come away with 2 of 4.
I think it's unfair to judge them after 4 games with the Dodgers. I think it's going to be
100%.
very unfair to judge any team against the LA Dodgers.
Couldn't agree with you more. But
Yeah.
shout out the Cardinals. You did a lot better and you fought. That's all I'm looking for. Fight. Don't be little bitches. Fight.
That's
I'm
what we got.
talking to Cardinals fans right now.
Right.
As if Nolan Gorman is listening.
That's
But
what we
Cardinals
got,
fans,
man.
let's fight here. Let's fight.
Just plug the merch, Doc.
Go get yourself some Just Baseball merch. Episode description. Go get it. Get yourself a hat, a sweatshirt, an athletic tee in the episode description. And while you're down there, there might be a rate and review button. Super easy. It takes 5 seconds. If you could leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we'd really, really appreciate it. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that big red subscribe button. You got to pay for it. Just kidding. Obviously, it's free. Might as well do it because we're going to be coming out with so many baseball content, you won't be able to breathe. All right? So hit that big red subscribe button. For Jack McMullen, I'm Peter Apple. We will be back on Monday, 5 days a week for the rest of the MLB season. And with that, thank you, everybody.